In this video, I'm going to show you how to install a ceiling fan, and in this case, it's an outdoor ceiling fan. And if you're new to this channel, my name's Josh. This channel is all about building your own house, saving a ton of money. So be sure to subscribe, ring that bell so you get a notification every time I release a new video, and hammer that like button for me. That's all I ask in return for making this video. We got a lot to do today. We're out here on the back porch and it's nice out, so let's get started. The very first thing I'm going to do is come over to the panel box and locate the circuit in which the ceiling fan is going to be installed. Then I'm going to turn off that breaker, and that way it kills the power to that circuit so I don't get shocked while I'm working on the ceiling fan. The first thing I do when it comes to installing any ceiling fan is take the box over next to where it's going to be installed, not directly under it because I'll need to have my stepladder to get up to it, but off to the side. I'm going to open the box and unpackage everything and separate all the screws, the fan blades, and all that, so that way I'm not looking for items as I'm working on the ceiling fan. Let's do this. As you can see, I unpackaged everything and laid it out so that way when I go to install it, it's going to be easy to find the parts. And also these items like this that have glass, I do like to keep them in the styrofoam, but right here to where it's easy to get to. And also, if you're interested in this exact ceiling fan, it's made by Home Decorators and it can be found on Amazon. And this is the exact model and name of it. And there is a link in the description below to it. And if you do make a purchase through my link, I make a small commission, but it's at no extra cost to you and it helps support the channel. And the very first thing I recommend you do with any kind of ceiling fan is go through the install guide and see how it's installed properly. And after you do that, you're ready to begin. So like most ceiling fans, the blades can be reversible, and you can either pick between a dark color or a light color. We're going to go with the dark color in this case. So after I decide that, it's time to install the arms onto the blades. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is carefully open up these blades. So we'll take this plastic off. And like I already said, we're going to go with the dark color. So I'm just going to lay these out to where the side that I want is facing up. Now we got to install these arms onto the blades, and as you can see, there's a decorative side and then there's a rough side. So the side we want facing on this blade is the side we want the decorative to be. So as you can see, you're going to want to install it something like this, because the decorative that you want to see showing in the decorative side of the arm. And now we just flip it over and we install screws in each one of these holes to hold it onto the arm. Here is the pack of screws that came with the fan, and these are for the blades. So I'm just going to open them up, and I'm going to just hold this together and just start the screws into the blades like so. And now I'm going to take my impact driver, or if you have a drill you could use that, or a hand screwdriver, and then just tighten up those screws. And now this blade is ready to be installed onto the actual fan. But first I'm going to go ahead and install the arms on all the blades. And after I install the arm onto it, I lay it with the face that I'm not going to see down. So that way if you get it scuffed, it's not going to be exposed. Take this piece that has this bracket in it. So this has a magnetic piece covering these two screws, which I've never seen one designed like that, so that's pretty interesting. And then what I'm going to do is just loosen up these screws right here. I'm just going to go ahead and take these screws all the way out. There we go. And now we're going to take this bracket and install it up on the ceiling. So I'm going to go ahead and reinstall this little screw in this bracket so I don't lose it. This is where I'm going to be installing the ceiling fan. So I'd like to point out all these wires and what they represent. So there's two 12-2 wires coming in, and that is because there's a light here and it's coming over to the fan light. Then there's a light here coming over to the fan light. So when I turn the fan light on, it's going to light up these two lights. So let me show you up close what else we got up here. So if you want to note the red wire, that's going to power our ceiling fan because this is a 3-wire. And this black wire is going to power the lights, and then the neutrals are the neutrals, of course. And then these, like I said, go over to those other lights. So just so you're aware of what's up here, and you may only have a wire coming in that's just a 2-wire, 1 2-wire like this. and you're going to wire it a little different than how I'm going to wire it. I'm going to go ahead and install this bracket, and this is called a saddle box, and these saddle boxes come with screws, and that is what anchors this bracket up to the ceiling fan bracket, which is a saddle box, and the screws just go right through these slots, and then you just tighten them up. First thing I'm going to do is just kind of get these wires out of the way, and then get this other screw out that's going to mount the bracket. And now I'm going to place my bracket up here like so, and line it up how I want it. Looks pretty good there. And now I'm just going to take this screw, fish it into the saddle box where I want to anchor it. Now I'm just going to take my impact driver and drive that in. Now this screw is actually going to go up into a wood board that I have up there, a 2x4 going sideways. And your ceiling fan bracket might anchor to a totally different type of box. Instead of a saddle box, you may have a metal box and you just have screws that anchor this. So every house is going to be different. All right, that's on there really well. Now it's time to install this downrod onto the ceiling fan motor. So you can see what I did. I went ahead and trimmed these wires off because I'm using the downrod that came with the fan, and this downrod's only 6 inches. As you can see, that's plenty of wire there left over. So the reason why there's all that excess wire is because if you have a longer downrod for a vaulted ceiling or something that's aftermarket, that's not part of this kit, it has plenty of wire to do so. First thing we got to do is take this piece that came with the fan, and we got to install it over through the wires, or install the wires through it, I should say. And now what we need to do is take this piece that came off the bracket and install that through the wires as well. So like so. And now what I'm going to do is take this downrod that came with the fan, and I'm going to twist these wires together so that way they stay together when I fish it through. So we're going to push right up into it. Boom, and that was pretty simple. And then slide that down over, and now I'm going to hold tension kind of up on these wires, and then just start threading this into the fan motor. All right, now I'm going to double check to make sure it's down all the way. So slide this up. That looks good. So let me give it an extra little twist here. All right, and that's nice and secure. Now what we got to do is just tighten up this little wire, or not wire, tighten up this screw here. It just gives a little extra security. And this takes a straight screwdriver. Now I'm going to slide this back down over this screw, and that part's done. And now we're going to take this and we're going to go install it onto the ceiling. Now what I'm going to do, as you can see, there's like this ball on the end of this downrod. That ball is going to go up in this bracket, and then there's a little slit in it right here. It's like a slotted area, and we can just go ahead and place that in towards the bracket, and we're going to twist it until that slot goes into a little groove that's up here. So right there is good, and that's in very nicely. And as you can see, I got plenty of wire left to wire to these wires, so I'm going to go ahead and wire this up. Then I'm going to show you what it looks like after it's wired together. So as far as the wiring goes, as you can see, I wrapped electrical tape around these. I figured since we're outdoors, it's probably a good idea. But I just tied this red wire in, which this is the switch for the fan. So that's the black wire coming out of that downrod. And then the blue wire is hooked to the black wires, and that's going to be the power to the lights. And then our green coming from the downrod in this bracket is hooked to the bare copper in that wire nut. And then all the whites are tied together right here. Again, it's kind of hard to see since the electrical tape's on everything, but that's just a rundown of the electrical. And typically most people are just going to have a white wire, a black wire, and a copper wire coming out of their mount here. And then that's going to hook to these wires, given that you only got one power. So the fan and the lights all going to hook together. And then you're just going to have to use the pull chain to control the fan or light. So we're just going to slide this up over, and there's these little screws right here that have to line up with these screw holes here. So we're just going to place them into those holes like so, and then like so, and then twist to tighten. And that looks good there. And now what I'm going to do is just take my screwdriver and tighten up those screws. All right, that looks really good. And now this has this magnetic cover, and this is just going to snap right over these screws so that we find where they line up. Looks like something like so. All right, and that looks good. And now let's go to the next step. Now it's time to install the fan blades. So in order to do this, all you gotta do is line these screws up with these screw holes that are supposed to accept those screws. So as you can see, right there looks good. So what I'm gonna do, just hold that into place and just tighten them up. And again, you can use an impact driver, a drill, whatever you wanna use. All right, and that's on really well. And then all we gotta do is just install all the blades like that. And just a little tip, try to do the opposing fan blade because you don't want to put them all on one side because they'll lop as you're trying to install them. So as you've seen me just do, I installed one on one side, one on the other to try to even it out, kind of like when you put lugs on a wheel. Now it's time to install this decorative piece that goes on it like this. So in order to do that, we got to take a couple of these screws out. We'll actually just take one out and then loosen the other two. And we'll loosen this one up. And then this one as well. And then we'll just take this, and it's going to twist over those screws. And I also need to make sure these wires are out of the way. So like so. And after you're in those screws, this just twists into place like so. And now I'm just going to reinstall this screw and then tighten these other ones down. Now I'm going to take this rubber band off. Now on this new piece we just installed, there's 3 screws, and I just got to take one of these screws out. So more or less just do the same thing we just did, but this is a different piece. And then we're just going to loosen these two, and we're going to install the light. This is the glass globe I got installed for the light, so I need to plug in the wiring harness. And as you can see, there's an arrow here, and there's an arrow here on the harness, so we know the 2 arrows go together, like so. And then we just got to place this into the screws that we have loosened up first. So it looks like they are back here. Now in order to tighten these screws up, gotta use a screwdriver because they're up inside this globe. So I'm going to go ahead and install that screw I took out all the way. Snug it up really well, and then snug up the other 2 screws. Now I'm going to install the light bulb that it came with, which I don't think you need instruction on this. I'm going to go ahead and just pop it in. Next thing we got to do is install the pull chains. So just go ahead and pull the wrapper off those. And here are the pull chain little pulls that it came with. So all you got to do, we all have done this before, I'm sure. All right, let's go kick that breaker on, see if it works. And the circuit now has juice. Let's go hit the switch. All right, I'm going to hit the switch for the lights. Awesome, and as you can see, the other light lights up with the ceiling fan light. And now let's hit the fan switch. Awesome, it works. It was a successful installation. And now, just so you know, this controls the light as well, and this controls the speed of the fan. And that is all there is to installing the ceiling fan outdoors. If you have any questions or comments about this fan installation, ask them in the comment section below. And if you need to know how to install the saddle box that you've seen that's holding the ceiling fan, check out this video. It'll help you out.